So hello YouTube, welcome back to the Market Outlook series. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. So in today's video, pretty much we'll just do a forecast for the next week, right? And I mean, pretty much just to say about the previous week is that, this week actually was a little bit slow for me, especially because I'm only monitoring Euro USD. And, this week actually was kind of slow. I only had one trade, which was a break-even trade. And I actually documented the trade on the free Telegram group. So make sure you join. The link will be on the description below. So pretty much I just had a break-even this week, was the only trade that I took, only monitoring Euro USD. And pretty much, it was once again, I mean, Euro USD was slow. I mean, for the past 2-3 weeks, Euro USD has been very slow for me, especially because I'm not seeing the rules being presented the way I want them to be, right? But that is just how Euro USD is, right? Usually from late September and October, usually the Euro USD has been very slow for what I've seen for the past 2 years, right? But late November and then December, it really does provide. So I'm looking forward for the next couple of weeks to see what's going to happen on Euro USD, right? But let's start from Euro USD right here. I got the Vantage source, right? And we're looking at Euro USD from the 12-month perspective, which is the yearly time frame. And what we're seeing is that the Euro USD right here is bullish, right? We just had this low, high, then low, and then high. So we can see that the bullish order flow is still intact at this particular moment. Now we're actually having a yearly bullish POI mitigation happening. So if we can clearly see that right now we're trading inside this bullish range, right? Which was the range low and the range high. So what I'm expecting to see if the price is ready to push all the way to the upside to grab the previous yearly high is I want to see some sort of a weekly change of character, right? So price just tapped our yearly bullish POI, which is good. So let me just drop down to the weekly time frame, right? So let's just drop down to the weekly. And we can see that on the weekly, the structure is still bearish, right? It's important to also note that we still have a lot of room to breathe on the yearly bullish order block, right? We still have a lot of space right here that price can just react before it finally pushes to the upside. So two scenarios we may be seeing right here. We can see that from the weekly, the structure is bearish, right? We have this series of lower lows and lower highs right here to tap the order block. Now we actually just saw this mitigation at the extreme of the weekly order block. And now there are two scenarios that we may see happening, actually. We may see price actually, just respected here. We may see price continue to the downside to fill the space that is still available on the yearly bullish order block. Or we may see price just doing this pullback, and then we have a break of structure, which will be the change of character. So for me, in order for me to finally change my bias long-term from bearish to bullish, I want to see that weekly change of character, right? So I want to see this high gone so I can finally change my bias from sells to buys. Okay, so let's just drop down to the daily time frame. Let's move to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we can clearly see that the structure is still bearish, right? We can see the price actually came to the extreme of this strong high right here. And I had a couple people asking me on the previous videos, because I was talking about strong highs and strong lows. And pretty much a strong high is one that grabs liquidity from the previous structure high and then goes on to take the liquidity from previous low. So it's important that we understand that there is liquidity sitting at every high and low, right? So at this, there is liquidity sitting here, liquidity sitting here, and here, right? So when you have price actually grabbing this previous high and then it goes on to break this previous low, right? This right here is a strong high because it was responsible for taking out the previous high and then the previous low. So when you look at what just happened on Euro USD, we can see that price actually took out this previous structure high with this high right here, And this actually was the catalyst move that went on to take this previous structure low. We can see this huge momentum that came in, this huge bearish momentum that came in right after price had swept the previous high. So this means that this is a very strong high that price needs to come. Yes, this was the decisional order block that was responsible for finally taking out this previous low, but the move actually started right here. We can see this huge imbalance sitting above that needed to be filled, right? And this huge bearish momentum, I mean, we as retail traders, we don't have enough capital to cause this huge momentum right here. So we can clearly see that this was just a liquidation, this V-shaped recovery, right? That's a point where we could see that institutions were definitely involved at this particular time. So that's why we had this strong reaction right here that's happening right here. Price just came to the extreme, right? And then it came down to this point of view. So if I drop down to the 4-hour time frame, right, we can see that from a swing structure perspective, right, we pretty much just had this structure high, then we had this structure low, and then we had this high, right? What I had seen before is, before even price had gotten into this point of interest, is that we had this break of structure right here. So the structure, pretty much the range that we were trading in was this high and this low. But then we just recently saw that price actually grabbed this previous high right here to the upside, all the way to our extreme daily point of interest, right? So, and we can clearly see that we have a strong low right here, because this low right here was responsible for taking liquidity sitting at this structure low, previous structure low, and then it went on to take this previous major structure high. So that's why we're seeing this strong reaction that is happening right here, okay? So right now, what I just saw is that we have this huge candle right here. I mean, this week, pretty much this was a liquidation week, just came to grab all this liquidity sitting above and then push to the downside. So when we drop down, for example, to the 15-minute time frame, we still have this little wick right here, right, which was still left unmitigated. So I'm still trying to see if Euro USD will continue to move to the downside, or it will continue to move to the upside. But in order for me to sell, I would want to see a 15-minute change of character, which is, so far we have this high, low, and then we have this high. So I would like to see price pretty much seeing what's going to be the reaction here, if we're going to have a break, and then I'm ready to sell. But as of now, if the 15-minute just doesn't change from bearish, I'm not going to sell, right? Even though it's at the extreme, I would really love to see that 15-minute change of character, right? So that's it for Euro USD. Let's move to another pair. So on Aussie dollar, pretty much we can clearly see that on Aussie dollar, pretty much we just bearish, right? We just had, if we look from this is the monthly time frame, we look at the swing structure, we have the swing structure low, we had this high, and we have this low. So this low pretty much failed to take out the high, so it became weak, right? That's a weak low. So what we're expecting to see pretty much is price actually coming down to take out this previous structure low and continue the bearish order flow towards the downside, right? And pretty much, yeah, that's it from the monthly time frame. So we can drop down, for example, to the weekly. I think the weekly doesn't have, it's quite the same thing. Let's drop down to the daily time frame. So the daily time frame, we can see that, okay, we had this solidified low, solidified high that made this low. So pretty much we just have recently this week, we had this daily POI mitigation right here at the extreme. And what we're expecting to see pretty much was price to take out this low to continue the bearish order flow on the daily. But right now, we're actually seeing this counter move right here to the upside. So there is a possibility that we may see price actually violating this previous low, this high actually becoming weak now for failing to take out the previous low. But we will still have to see what's going to happen when the markets open next week. So let me just drop down to the 4-hour time frame. We can see right here we have this nice candle, right? Price came here, and then we had the change of character right there, mitigation, and a second break of structure with this week. We can see that this is a very strong week right here, because pretty much it just grabbed liquidity from this structure high, and then it pushed to the downside aggressively. So we can see this huge bearish momentum right here to the downside. So if I actually looked at this point of interest from the 30 minutes POI, and we actually saw I actually saw this week right here. This week actually is higher than the previous week. So this means that this actually was a liquidity week. What it means is that institutions had to buy to grab liquidity sitting at the previous candle week, right? This institutional candle. So, and then we had the sellers stepping in the market right here. So in order for them to mitigate that buy position that they first opened in drawdown, they need to come down, they need to come up to mitigate that position, right? And then probably we will see a continuation to the downside. So because this actually is part of the 4-hour structure, right? Because when we look at the swing structure, we have the structure low, high, and then low. So what I'm expecting to see, if to sell, I want to see a 15-minute change of character, right? So let me just drop down to M15. So here we are on the M15. And what I like to read the swing structures, right? So we can see that, okay, we had this solidified high, low, and then a high, and then this low. And price now just created a new high. So my swing low is sitting right here. What I've loved to see is a change of character on the M15, and then I can look to sell all the way down as part of a continuation. Okay, so that's it for Aussie dollar. Let's move to another pair. So on Aussie CAD, pretty much Aussie CAD usually is not a pair that I personally trade, but I'm always fascinated about the price action on Aussie CAD. Usually it's very, very clean. I mean, for anyone that is trying to look for another pair to trade besides the one that he's currently trading, I would recommend Aussie CAD. The only thing that I really don't like about Aussie CAD is the spreads on my brokers. Usually is around 1 pip stop loss. And I mean, it doesn't work for me. So, but when we look at the price action, it's absolutely clean. We can see that we had this break of structure, we had a mitigation, then we had a second break, mitigation, and then we had just this third break of structure, and now we have in this very nice mitigation. So we can see that the bearish mitigation, the mitigation play here is very smooth, very uniform, and we're just having the clear mitigations, right, from these high time frame structures. So if I drop down to the 4-hour, right, what happened is that we just had this daily change of character right here, right, at this order block, and we can see that we have this box of liquidity right here. What happened is that we had a breakout to the upside towards this order block. Now we're seeing price actually pushing to the downside, and we have a ton of liquidity sitting below right here, right, in the form of relative equal lows, right? So we can see this pool of liquidity here, a lot of money sitting right here. So what I'm expecting to see on Aussie CAD pretty much is to see price actually reacting. It's already reacted at this week right here. We can see that it actually grabbed liquidity from all this, this liquidity build up right here. It grabbed with this week, pushed to the downside. Now we're expecting that mitigation and continuation to the downside to grab this previous liquidity build up. Okay. So this actually is a 4-hour point of interest. So what I would recommend to do is to wait for a clean 30 minutes or M15 change of character, right? So we can see that if I zoom in, we had this structure high, structure low, and then price actually made a new high right here with this week. So what I would recommend is to see price actually taking out this week low right here. We can see this bearish momentum already kicking in, right? So I would love to see a change of character, and then we can look for a sell. Then we can go down to 3 minutes time frame to look for our confirmations. Okay, so pretty much that's it for Aussie CAD. For my high time frame is bearish, so we want to make sure that on the lower time frame we establish that symbiosis, right, with the high time frame. So high time frame is bearish. We want to make sure the 15-minute turns bearish, so we can wait for sales as part of the high time frame bearish continuation. Okay, let's move to another pair. So GU, we can see that GU pretty much overall from a high time frame perspective, GU is heavily bearish, right? We can see that we had this previous structure low, structure high, then low. Price actually came up, mitigated. Then we had a break of structure. Price actually came back to mitigate the order block at the extreme. And then we had this strong push to the downside right here, right? So from the monthly time frame, we can see that GU is heavily bearish. right? So if I drop down to the daily time frame, on the daily time frame, we can see something interesting right here is that we had this clean, we just had this clean bearish daily bearish order flow transition. We had this high right here. This is another thing that I always talk about, the strong highs, right? A strong high usually is when you have, for example, you have this bearish push to the downside, and then you have a high, right? This is a change of character. This actually, that's one of the reasons why I don't trust change of character, because sometimes you have these situations where they trap a lot of chalk traders, right? And then you see price actually coming to the extreme and then continue the move to the upside. So this right here was just a liquidity grab. It's what we call a strong high, because it took liquidity from the previous high and then it took the previous low right here. So then we have this mitigation and a continuation to the downside. So that's pretty much what we're seeing right here, right? When you look at GU, I'm pretty sure a lot of people got caught off guard right here with this change of character, but this was just a liquidity grab, and then we had price pushing to the downside, right? So this right here becomes a strong high. That's why we're having this strong reaction to the downside right here, right? So when we look at what's going on, our range, we're still trading inside a daily bearish range, which was this high, low, and then you have, low, high, and low, right? So we're still trading inside this bearish range, high and low right here. So everything that is happening right here is what we call internal structure price action. Right here, we had this high, low, and then a high. But now we're actually seeing price respecting this low that we will see right now on the lower time frame. So let's just drop down to the 4-hour time frame. So we can see that on the 4-hour time frame right here, we can see that we had this previous high, low, and price just made this swing high right here. And also, actually, what happened is we actually had this high, low, and then high. What happens is that price actually had broken this previous low, so we created this range high and low. What happened is price came to the extreme of this order block right here, and then we had a failed pretty much we had no follow through on the bearish momentum, right? We just had this change of character, but price failed to continue to push to the downside. So this high became weak. This low ended up taking the previous high all the way to the extreme daily supply zone, right? So we can see that we had another strong low sitting right here because it grabbed liquidity that was sitting right here, right? So we had this sweep of liquidity and then a push to the upside, and now we actually seeing price mitigating and pushing to the upside, right? So from the 4-hour right here, we can see that when this particular structure is still bullish right here, right? So there is a possibility that we may see a reaction happening inside this point of interest right here, this supply zone. I would really love to see what's going to happen here, if price will just violate or it will come to the extreme right here this week, which was left unmitigated. It was responsible for taking out actually this structure low. So there is a possibility that we may see a reaction here, and to see if we will continue the move to the downside, or if price will finally break this daily previous high right here. Because from a high time frame perspective, it's not correct to change our bias to bullish long term, because we're still trading inside the daily bearish range, right? So that's pretty much what I'm looking for on GU for the next week, a reaction at this point of interest after this nice reaction at this strong low right here. All right, so that's it for GU. Let's move to another pair. So GJ, so right here we have the pound yen, and when we just give just a general look at this pair, we can clearly see that pound yen actually is bullish, right? Previously we had this nice bearish bullish structure right here, then price dropped a long wick to grab all this pool of liquidity sitting below, and then it pushed aggressively to the upside right here, taking out this previous daily low right here. So what I'm looking for on GU, actually I'm looking for this nice down candle before the up move, which was the decisional low, right? And we have fair value gap sitting below right here. So that's just another confluence as to why price needs to pull back towards this order block, and possibly we see a continuation to the upside, right? So we can drop down, for example, to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, if we read the structure, right? we can see that from a swing structure perspective, we had this high, then we had this low, that then this high got broken right here. And what was decisional low was this one right here. This actually was the decisional low responsible for taking out this previous high right here. That's why we had price actually coming down to mitigate this order block and continue to the upside. But then now we just had a break of structure here, which is a change of character, giving us a signal that the daily is ready to do a pullback towards this, possibly this bullish order block. So we had a change of character right here. This was a nice solidified low right here. And this was another structure right here, the price actually taken first, this one up here. Currently, we're having a reaction to this supply zone right here. So there is a possibility that we may see actually GJ from this point of interest dropping all the way down to our daily, or it may come towards this bullish order block. I mean, right here, I don't see anything very clean, because usually when it comes to order block, I like to choose order block that comes from a solidified structure. So right here, from the 4 hour, we're not having a solidified structure. We're just having this bullish candle. So there is a possibility the price may come here, and then we may see a continuation to the downside or towards this order block, and then a long-term continuation to the upside. So that's it that I have so far for GJ. And let's move to another pair. So New Zealand dollar, we can look at New Zealand dollar from the monthly time frame. And if we read the swing structures, right, we can see that New Zealand dollar is bullish, right? We had this high, low, and then we had this high, and then the low, and then the high. So pretty much what we just, pretty much what I'm expecting to see is price to take out this inducement right here, price come inside this order block, and then we see a continuation to the upside because we have actually a relative equal high sitting up here. So there is a ton of liquidity to grab at the top. And we can clearly see that from a monthly time frame, the structure is just bullish, right? So we want to make sure that on the lower time frames, we actually see that bullish structure forming as well, right? So let's just drop down to the daily time frame. And on the daily time frame, what I was just seeing when I was reading structure is that, okay, we had this solidified low, high, that then got broken right here. So it made this low right here. That's when we had this more than 50% mitigation to mitigate some of the block right here. And then we had a push to the downside right here, right? So what happened is that we had this break, we had a mitigation right here, and then we had this nice push towards the downside. So what I'm expecting to see probably, right, because we still didn't tap that monthly bullish order block, what I'm expecting to see pretty much is if Aussie dollar will actually pull back towards this order block and we see a continuation to the downside, because we actually have a ton of trend line liquidity sitting below. So that's another reason as to why price is more likely to come towards the downside, and then we see a continuation to the upside. So right now we just had this break. We had a nice mitigation that provided us an invalidation point, and then we had this strong push to the downside. Then we can clearly see that we have a huge fair value gap sitting right here. So this is just another confidence that we're stacking up as to why price needs to come towards this, and then we see a continuation to the downside, right? But so far, what we're seeing is that we're seeing that pretty much that weekly pull back towards this zone right here. We just had this nice daily change of character. We had a mitigation this week, right? And then we had this nice second break of structure in the daily time frame. So if I drop down to the 4 hour time frame, we can clearly see the point of interest sitting right here below these black candles right here. I mean, we can refine the order block all the way to this, but there is a possibility that we may miss the trade due to over refinement. But anything around this zone and a 15-minute change of character is a good confirmation for us to buy all the way up, right? And as price actually is getting closer to the order block, there is a possibility the price may just come all the way up here, and then we're gonna have to look for that 15-minute change of character and sell towards the downside. Okay, so that's pretty much the outlook that I have on New Zealand dollar. So USD CAD, we can clearly see that, you know, if we read the structure, we had the structure low, we had the high right here. I mean, we had the structure high and low, and then we have the high. Price came to the extreme of the order block right here, and then it pushed to the upside. But what happened is that this low failed to do its job, which was to take out the previous high. So it became weak. Price actually came down, swept took out the previous low, and now we're actually seeing price coming back to mitigate the order block that was responsible, the catalyst move that went on to take that previous low. Okay, so if I drop down to the weekly time frame, so we can see the order block right here, we can clearly see this nice bullish candle right here, the last up candle before the down move. We can see the huge momentum that followed after that let's buy before the sell, and we can see the fair value gap that was left right here. This was just another confluence as to why price needed to come towards this point of interest, and price actually just got there right here. We can see this nice weak mitigation right there. And when it comes to weekly point of interest mitigations, what I like to see is a daily or 4-hour change of character, right? So we can sell. So let's drop down to the 4-hour time frame, and pretty much let's just read the structure, right? And what we pretty much had is that we had this structure. Let me just start from here, right? We had this high, low, failure for price to put a new high. We had a change of character. As I always say, change of character is never a confirmation of trend reversal. It's just the first sign of bearish intention. So right here, we had nothing, no follow through to the downside. And then price actually just came to our point of interest, right? Also, there was no reason for us to look for long-term sales right here because it didn't tap our intended point of interest. So price just tapped right here. And what was responsible for taking out this previous structure high? It was this low right here, right? So then we had the nice change of character right here, had a nice mitigation right here, and then a second break of structure. So after the second break of structure, that's when we have the confirmation of bearish order flow transition, that we have transitioned from the bullish to bearish. And we have this very nice order block sitting right here on top. We can see that after this buy right here, that again, we have a strong high right here. Why is that? Because it grabbed liquidity sitting at the top, and then it wanted to take liquidity below, right? So that's a strong high right here. That's why we actually had this mitigation towards this POI. A lot of people got caught off guard right here and got taken out, right? Because we have this very strong high right here, huge imbalances left right here. So that was just confluences as to why price had to come. We had a strong high, we had huge momentum on the break, we had the imbalances left, okay? So this was just the confluences for choosing the right OB. I actually made a video on this. I actually pop up the link of that video right now so you guys can watch. It's a very important video about confluences we need to see when choosing the right order block. So I'll pop up the link right here for you guys to watch. And you can see the price actually came to the extreme after grabbing this trend line liquidity sitting right here. We can see that this was a nice trend line liquidity. Price just grabbed all of it, pushed to the downside, taking out this 4-hour previous low right here, right? So pretty much we can see that on the USD CAD, we're just seeing price actually respecting that monthly bearish order block towards the downside. So there is a possibility that we may see USD CAD just pushing towards the downside. If you come to the daily time frame, I have a we can come to the daily time frame and see that we from the daily structure, swing structure perspective, we just had a change of character right here. Okay, right, because from the daily, this was our daily swing high, daily swing low. Then we had this high, and now price just took out this previous low with a bottom closure. So there is a possibility we may see price actually pulling back towards this order block right here. Then we see a continuation to the downside. Okay, so pretty much that's the outlook that I have on USD CAD. And if we actually look for sales, I would love to target this point of interest sitting below right here, right? Because this actually order block was responsible for taking out this solidified structure high, which is a very significant one right here, right? So anything I would love to sell from this point of interest all the way down here, and then we may see what's going to happen next, right? So that's it for USD CAD. Let's move to another pair. So gold, we can see that from gold on the weekly and monthly time frame, we can see that gold is heavily bullish, right? We can see that we had this break of structure, had a mitigation right here that provided us an invalidation point. And then we had a second break of structure right here that ended up taking this previous major yearly structure low right here, structure high sitting up here. So now we actually saw the price came to this very refined order block sitting right here, and we can drop down to the daily time frame. So we can even see that from price actually came to our daily point of interest, right? Weekly point of interest. So at weekly POIs, I like to look for daily or 4-hour change of character. So we had a nice daily 4-hour change of daily change of character. We had price coming to the extreme. This actually was refined on the 4-hour time frame. So if I drop down to the 4-hour, we can clearly see that we had this nice black candle, which was the last sell before the up move that went on to take the daily previous structure high. Then we had price coming towards the order block, so we can have that daily POI mitigation. Then we had this nice 4-hour change of character sitting right here. So this was the 4-hour change of character. And the candle that was responsible for that is sitting right here, this down candle before the up move. And we saw the price now just came to the extreme of that order block, and now it's starting to push to the upside. So we can see that, okay, we have this break of structure right here that just happened recently on gold. And we have this order block right here. If we can use the 8-hour time frame, we can pretty much use this black candle right here. And there is a possibility that we may see price actually pulling back. And then we'll be looking for a 15-minute change of character, so we can buy all the way up to the upside. But also, it's important to beware that pretty much price just created more liquidity here, right? So there's a possibility that price may just continue to push to the upside. I mean, when we look at the daily, and the daily price is still trading inside the daily bullish range, right? Which is this range low, and we have this range high. Okay, so it's still bullish from a daily time frame perspective, and we just had this nice 4 or 8-hour break of structure right here. So I would really love to see price actually pulling back, wait for a 15-minute change of character, and then I can buy all the way up. Okay, so that's the outlook that I have for gold. When it comes to an opportunity to scalp all the way down to this order block, what I would recommend is to wait for an hourly change of character, right? And then we can sell all the way down here. Okay, so that's it for gold. Let's move to another pair. So when it comes to US 30, right, we can see that US 30 has been, I mean, bearish since the beginning of the year, right? Especially with the interest rate hikes. I mean, you know, usually when they increase the interest rates, the US 30 tends to fall, right? Because, you know, business, they can't borrow more money, right, to fund growth. So it actually ends up affecting a lot on US 30. So we just saw that, you know, we had another interest rate hikes for the USD, for the dollar. So that actually we will see actually the US 30 pushing towards the downside right here, right? So we can see that right here, we had this strong high right here, which is a very, I mean, critical point of interest, because it took out this previous structure high, and then it took out this previous structure low, right? So this is a strong high. We're seeing actually price doing a mitigation, and we're expecting to see a continuation to the downside, correct? So if this is on the weekly time frame, so let's drop down to the daily time frame, and we will see the price actually just respected this very beautiful order block sitting right here. We can see the price actually push a little bit to the upside, then had this strong momentum that went on to take these structure lows right here, right? All these structure lows right here. So pretty much that's what we're seeing, this strong reaction happening right now at this daily point of interest, right? So when it comes to daily point of interest, I like to drop down to the hourly time frame. It can be 2 hour, 1 hour, whichever time frame presents a much cleaner price action. That's what I'm all for. So when we read the structure, what just happened is we had the structure high, structure low, then price made this structure high, right? And pretty much price just grabbed liquidity with this wick. We didn't have a body closure to consider this to be a structure high, okay? Pretty much price just came, and after it grabbed liquidity right here, right? We saw that price then pushed to the downside to grab this solidified low right here. So we just had an hourly change of character. So I'll mark this right here was our hourly change of character. And we have this huge wick right here that was still left unmitigated. So they're still resting orders waiting to be triggered at that point of interest, because we can see that institutions had to buy to grab this liquidity sitting on top. Then they sold immediately. So they have to come back up to mitigate that first buy position that they opened to grab liquidity. And then we may see a continuation to the downside right here. So we have that point of interest. This is an hourly point of interest. What I would recommend to do is to wait for a 15-minute change of character. So price comes here, we wait for a 15-minute change of character, and then we can sell all the way down, right? So what I recommend is we can look for M15 change of character. We have the POI, then we can drop down to our lower time frame, such as 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or we can wait for another break of structure on the 15-minute and do the exactly same thing, drop down to 1 minute, 2 minutes to look for our confirmation entries, okay? So that's the outlook that I have for US30, clean price action so far. And I'm looking forward on this pair, right? So let's move to another pair. So crypto, we can look at Ethereum from the monthly time frame. And we can see that pretty much the outlook remains the same, right? I mean, we just had this strong push to the upside right here that created an all-time high, right? It took out this previous structure high, and we have this down candle before the up move right here. If I zoom in, we can see that there is a ton of fair value gaps imbalances, right? Sitting right here. So we have this imbalance. This is just another reason as to why price needs to come down to this order block, right? And so pretty much what I'm just expecting from a monthly time frame is to see Ethereum coming towards around $400, and then we may see a push to the upside, right? 400 and about $480, and then we see that continuation to the upside, right? So let's drop down to the weekly time frame. So on the weekly time frame, we can see that we had pretty much this structure low, price then pushed up right here and then created this new low right here. So then this right here was an order block. This is the weekly. So at weekly point of interest, I usually like to look for a daily change of character. I think this structure is much more visible on the daily, right? And let me just bring it to daily time frame. Right here, we can see that we had this weekly low, then weekly high, and then this low. So price just came right here, still respected this range, bearish range low and high. Price came to right here to do a weekly point of interest mitigation. So at weekly, we want to look for a daily change of character to give us a confirmation that price is ready to drop to grab this weekly previous low. Okay, so we're on the daily right here. So we had this high, low, and then we had this high. So we had a nice change of character. We had a mitigation right here. Pretty much, I like to see a mitigation above 50% of Fibonacci. So that's what happened right here. Pretty much price came to the 50% of this range high and low, and then created another break of structure, okay? So let me just delete the brushes. And now we can see actually price just came to our extreme point of interest up here, right? So what I'm expecting to see is that price will just react from this point of interest, and we will see a continuation to the downside to take out this liquidity and grab this weekly previous low, which is a weak low, right? Because this low failed to take out this previous weekly high. Okay, so price just got into our daily point of interest. What I like to look for a daily point POI mitigation is an hourly change of character when it comes to sales, right? So let me just drop down to the hourly time frame. And if we look at it from let me just use the 4 hour. It's much cleaner. Yeah. So when we look at what's going on the hourly time frame, we can see that we had the structure high, structure low, then this high, then this low. Then price actually created a new high, which was a tap at this daily point of interest. So what I would recommend to do is, okay, we have this order block sitting right here. As a scalper, what I would do is I will go to M15, look for the 15-minute change of character, a mitigation, and a second break of structure. So then I can sell all the way down here, right? Then if I want to look for long-term sales, I would have to look for price to take out this 4 hour previous low sitting right here, right? So price we need to break that low, and then we look for the mitigation on the lower time frames so we can sell all the way to our weekly week low, okay? So I mean, that's it for the video, guys. And if you guys are very interested, I mean, I would really recommend you guys to join my free Telegram group right here. This is pretty much where I share all the setups every single week, even updates on the setups that I send the day prior, right? I always make sure I update the members here. And if you guys would love to, I mean, join my private mentorship, I mean, feel free to let me know. You have my contact right there on the public group description, right? You can find my contact and feel free. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you hit the like button for me, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.